I am 84 years old, and the older I get, the more I realize that most people spend their entire lives preparing for the wrong kind of old age. They prepare financially, socially, emotionally, but almost nobody prepares for the moment when life becomes quiet and there is nowhere left to hide from themselves. And if you are over 60 listening to this right now, there is a very good chance you already feel this deep down. Because one day, whether people admit it or not, the noise fades, friends disappear, children become busy, circles shrink, and suddenly your happiness depends on what remains inside you when the room gets silent. I'm Henry. I'm 84 years old, and I've lived long enough to see something clearly. The people around you are not what determine whether old age feels peaceful or unbearable. In fact, some people are surrounded by family and still feel completely empty inside, and others sit quietly alone with a kind of peace most people never experience their entire lives. That's the part nobody tells you early enough. We spend decades chasing connection, approval, relationships, success, attention, but almost nobody teaches us how to build a life that can still stand when all of that becomes smaller. And trust me, one day it becomes smaller, much smaller. So before we go further, if this feels familiar to you or to someone you know, like the video, please, because you're not the only one who has felt this. When most people imagine old age, they imagine loneliness as the biggest danger. Empty rooms, quiet mornings, phones that stop ringing. But here's what I've seen over and over again. Loneliness is not always the absence of people. Sometimes it's the absence of stability inside yourself. And this is where everything changes. The first thing that matters more than people is your body. Not perfection, not youth, just a body that still allows you to live with dignity. Let me show you something most younger people never think about. You wake up before sunrise. Your room is cold and quiet. You place your feet on the floor, and before your mind fully wakes up, your body answers a question. Can you stand without pain today? Can you walk to the kitchen without your knees tightening? Can you carry your groceries without feeling weak? Most people ignore their bodies when they're younger because they assume strength is permanent. It isn't. One day, your body becomes the difference between freedom and dependence. And nothing humbles a person faster than losing simple independence. I've seen proud men break emotionally because they needed help putting on their shoes. I've seen people trapped inside their own homes because stairs became impossible. And here's the brutal truth. Independence is dignity. Once your body stops cooperating, fear quietly enters your life. Fear of falling, fear of becoming a burden, fear of needing permission just to live normally. That's why the real advice is simple. Walk every day. Stretch. Maintain strength. Keep moving, even when you don't feel like it. Because the body you ignore at 45 becomes a body that controls your life at 75. And if you are over 60 right now, your future is already being shaped by the habits you repeat today. But here's where things become even heavier. Because the second thing is stability, financial stability. Not luxury, not status, just enough to sleep peacefully at night. Most people spend years trying to look successful while quietly living in fear. And fear feels different when you're old. At this age, one unexpected bill can steal your sleep for weeks. One medical emergency can change your entire future. Imagine waking up every morning already worried before your coffee even cools down, calculating numbers in your head, wondering what happens if something goes wrong. That pressure slowly poisons your peace. And here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Financial stress becomes emotionally heavier with age because your options shrink. Time matters now. Recovery becomes harder. I've seen people with modest incomes live calm, stable lives because they understood simplicity. And I've seen wealthy people live in constant anxiety because they built lives that depended on appearances. Stability matters more than image. Predictability removes fear. And when fear disappears, the nervous system finally rests. And if you made it this far, please like the video and subscribe, because most people ignore these truths until they start feeling the consequences. But here's something even more dangerous than financial fear: a life with no rhythm. This is where people quietly begin disappearing emotionally without realizing it. The third thing is routine. Not rigid schedules, not perfection, structure. Because when your days lose structure, your mind slowly loses stability too. I learned this after my wife passed away. At first, I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted: sleeping late, eating, whenever, watching television all night. But after a few months, something strange happened. Time stopped feeling real. Mondays felt identical to Thursdays. Entire weeks disappeared without leaving memories behind. And that kind of emptiness is terrifying because it happens slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. So I rebuilt structure. Wake up at 5:30, coffee on the porch, feed the birds, work in the garage, lunch at noon, evening walks before sunset. Nothing impressive. But here's the truth. Routine anchors the human mind. Small rituals create emotional stability. And in old age, emotional stability becomes priceless. A peaceful life is built quietly, not dramatically. But now we arrive at something even deeper, because routine alone is not enough. The fourth thing is purpose. And this is where many people begin fading, long before their bodies fail. Imagine waking up and feeling like nothing is waiting for you anymore. Nothing needs you. Nothing pulls you forward. That feeling drains the soul faster than aging itself. I've seen retired people collapse emotionally within a few years because they lost all direction. No purpose, no anticipation, no reason to keep moving forward. But here's what changes everything. Purpose does not need to be grand. It just needs to exist. A garden, a dog waiting by the door, building birdhouses in the garage, reading one chapter every morning. Tiny things create momentum, and momentum keeps the spirit alive. Meaning is not found all at once. It is built slowly, through repetition, through caring about something enough to return to it tomorrow. And once you understand that, life stops feeling empty. But now we arrive at the truth most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The fifth thing is learning how to be at peace alone. Not distracted, not entertained, at peace. Because eventually, silence comes for everyone. One day, the house becomes quieter, the calls become fewer, the world slows down. And in those moments, you finally meet yourself. Most people are terrified of silence because silence exposes what distraction was hiding. I've met people who couldn't sit quietly for 5 minutes without turning on the television or reaching for their phone. Because when your entire life is built around escaping yourself, silence feels unbearable. But here's what changed my life. I stopped running from quiet moments. I learned how to sit alone on my porch and simply exist without needing noise. And slowly, solitude stopped feeling empty. It started feeling peaceful. Silence becomes torture when you spend your whole life avoiding yourself. But once you become comfortable in your own presence, something extraordinary happens. You stop depending on the world to constantly comfort you, and that changes everything. Now, if this video resonates with you, subscribe now, please, because the next video might help you understand something that usually takes a lifetime to see clearly. So, when you step back and look at old age honestly, the picture becomes much clearer. A body that still moves, financial stability, simple routines, a reason to wake up, and a mind that can sit peacefully in silence. With these things in place, life no longer needs to be loud to feel meaningful. It becomes quieter, steadier, more honest. One day, everyone leaves the room. What remains is the life you built inside yourself. So ask yourself honestly, are you building a life that depends entirely on others, or one that can still stand peacefully on its own? I'm Henry, and I'll see you in the next one.